الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون يا أيها الذين آمنوا استعينوا بالصبر والصلاة إن الله مع الصابرين صدق الله العظيم. Respected elders, dear brothers and sisters, in continuation of Ayat number 152 of Surat al-Baqarah, particularly the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the various forms of dhikr, and particularly the masnoon adhkar, we have tried our best to cover in light of the ayat of the Quran and the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We have tried to cover the numerous benefits and fawaid of the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just to mention maybe one or two more adhkar that are very, very useful and beneficial also from the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. These adhkar are not particularly mentioned in the ayat of the Quran, but their mention is in the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. One is the beautiful dhikr of La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There are a few particular treasures that are considered the treasures of the Arsh, Khaza'in al-Arsh, from the Khaza'in, from the treasures of the Arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of them is Ayatul Kursi. It is a treasure from the treasures of the Arsh. The other is this particular dhikr, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. This is from amongst the treasures of the Arsh. There are numerous fada'il mentioned about this particular dhikr. One of the unique benefits, aside from the ajr and reward, as mentioned in the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the rewards being the person who reads this regularly 100 times, he will come with numerous rewards on the Day of Judgment. And no one will come with reward better than this person except for someone who did more dhikr of this kalima, of this dhikr, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. But amongst the numerous benefits is that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has told us that this particular dhikr, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, this particular dhikr, it is a cure and a remedy for 99 ailments, the least of which is anxiety. When a person is very anxious and stressed, So this is a dhikr to be done when we become very worried, when we become stressed. Then we should recite this dhikr, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There are some additions to this dhikr you find in some of the other ahadith. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. But this is a particular dhikr that is very, very effective in removing stress from a person. Especially if we understand the depth of its meaning. And we recite this dhikr continuously at a time when we are worried and stressed and anxious about something. Then it is very, very effective when we do this dhikr and ponder on its meaning. La hawla, no one has the power to turn away what is harmful and what is difficult. No one has the power to turn away hardships. Wa la quwwa, no one has the power to even make that which is harmful beneficial, or to bring about the ability to do what is good, illa billah, except that it is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which indirectly means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the one and only being that can remove difficulties, remove hardships. And He is the only being that has the power to bring about khayr and good and benefit for us. And also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one that can give us the ability to stop committing sins. The dhikr is also very effective if someone has this worry that they may become sinful or may be involved in sin. And they are worried that even if I do tawbah, I still go back to that sin. So this dhikr is also very effective in its meaning in helping a person stop committing sins. That la hawla, no one has the power to turn me away from that sin. Wa la quwwa, and no one has the ability to give me the strength to stay away from that sin. Illa billah, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is a very, very effective dhikr at a time when we are feeling stressed about certain conditions. There are other adhkar that are very effective, but this dhikr is the treasure from the treasures of the arsh. You will not find this dhikr particularly mentioned in the Quran with these particular words. But it is mentioned in the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And it is mentioned in many, many ahadith with numerous benefits and fada'il. There is also another dhikr that is amongst the best of adhkar, or falls into the category of the best of adhkar. The dhikr, La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulku wa lahul hamd, wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. This particular dhikr, there are numerous fada'il, numerous benefits mentioned about this dhikr as well. That this is amongst the best words that was ever recited by the Anbiya alayhimus salam. It's amongst the best of the words that you can find in the adhkar. And it has numerous benefits and blessings, and it is also amongst the adhkar that is very effective in the acceptance of dua. La ilaha illallah, there is no ilah, there is none worthy of worship, there is no God but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wahdahu la sharika lah, He is one and unique, there is no partners, He has no partners, no associates. Lahul mulku wa lahul hamd, to Him belongs all kingdom, to Him belongs all praise. Wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir, and He has power over all things. He has the power to do anything and everything, and He has power over all things. Everything is completely within His control and His power. So amongst the masnoon adhkar, These are the majority of the adhkar that you'll find, majority of the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They will mention these particular adhkar. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah, Allahu akbar, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم. So these are all of the majority of the adhkar. Then you will find in ahadith variations of these adhkar. You'll find some additions, you'll find some subtractions. You'll find in some ahadith the wordings are slightly different, but in general, these are the adhkar. And these adhkar are not limited to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam or limited to our ummah. But even in the ummah and in the nations of the past, they also had these adhkar. They also used to do the same adhkar with slight variations, but the majority, these were the same. These are amongst the best words of remembrance and the best way to do the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us in the ayat of the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O those of you who believe, اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا. Remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with dhikran kathiran, excessive dhikr. With all of the various forms of the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we should try our best to try and do as many different types of adhkar. From istighfar, saying astaghfirullah, to all of the other forms of adhkar. Also to the tilawat of the Quran, we should try and bring as much of it as we can into our life. The example of these adhkar is like in our day-to-day good health. If you want to be healthy, so we are encouraged to exercise. And how many different types of exercises are there? There's some type of exercise that is good for the heart, some that is good for particular muscles, some variations which are good for multiple muscles, some that is a whole body workout. So all different types of exercise work out different parts of the body and have their own benefit. And you cannot say that one exercise is better than the other. Each exercise has its own benefit. And the more variations and the more exercise we can do, so that will be good, and it is good for our health. You can also apply the same to different types of foods. Often at times we eat only one type of food, so sometimes we get tired. There are different types of foods, different varieties that we try, different ingredients that we try, different meals and different dishes that we try. Because if we continuously eat the same thing, even if it is our best and most favorite food, eventually we become a little bit tired of it. It's human nature. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His immense rahmah and mercy, He has given us multiple types of adhkar to do. And we should try to get in the habit of doing as many as we can in our life, at least on a daily basis or on a regular basis. In this particular ayah, ayat number 152, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, فَاذْكُرُونِي أَذْكُرْكُمْ. If you remember me, I will remember you. Fa, then, udhkuruni, if you remember me, adhkurkum, I will remember you. The beginning portion of this ayah, this first portion, fadhkuruni, so then remember me. This is in direct connection to the previous ayah, ayat number 151. In which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about the main purpose and the main mission of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that he was sent to us أتلو عليكم آياتنا, to recite the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to you. And with these ayat, وَيُزَكِّيكُمْ, to purify you. وَيُعَلِّمُكُمْ مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ, and He was to teach you that which you did not know. And once we are taught those things that we did not know, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, فَاذْكُرُونِي, then remember me. If you take the meaning of the ending of the previous ayah to the beginning of this ayah, and you connect the meaning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that when you learn about the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, such ilm and such knowledge that you did not have before, that you did not know before, a particular hukum is explained to you, a particular command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taught to you, or you are taught about a particular prohibition that you may have been involved in, some sin, you're taught about it, and you are given this ilm and knowledge that this is a sin, so we should stay away from. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, فَاذْكُرُونِي, so then remember me. Which means that bring that ilm into your practice. That ilm, that knowledge that you have been taught, bring that into practice. That is the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or that is also considered the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes we are driving on the road and in the distance we see the police officer and we're reminded that we should check our speed. And if we do not know the speed, sometimes we ask the other occupants of the vehicle that what is the speed limit? Because we are afraid of the ticket. We are reminded of the power of that officer. We're reminded of the power a ticket has. And we come within limits. If we're speeding, we bring the car within control and slow it down. So this is the effect that remembrance has, the effect that a reminder has. Similarly, when we're involved in, when we are given the ilm and the knowledge of particular ahkam of deen, then it is our duty to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, particularly when we are in that amal. If we're taught about certain way to perform our salah, if we're making mistakes before, or we are involved in certain transactions or certain actions, then we should remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we should remember the ahkam of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is also a form of the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The other meaning of this ayah is فَاذْكُرُونِي. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, so then remember me. But the various forms of dhikr. And this is a means of purification, going back to ayat number 151, before the aspect of ilm is mentioned. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was sent to you, يَتْلُو عَلَيْكُمْ آيَاتِنَا, to recite our ayat to you, وَيُزَكِّيكُمْ, and to purify you. And the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one of the best forms of purification. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-A'la, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى. Definitely successful is the one who is purified. How are they purified? وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ. They mention the name of their Rabb. فَصَلَّى, and then they pray salah. Our salah also has how much different types of adhkar. Even our salah starts with dhikr. When we say Allahu Akbar, we start our salah. We start with the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best form of purification. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in ayat number 152, فَاذْكُرُونِي, so then you remember me, أَذْكُرْكُمْ, I will also remember you. This is a very unique statement in the Ayat of the Quran. We have to remember and we have to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is never in a condition that He in any way ever forgets us or ever becomes heedless. وَمَا اللَّهُ بِغَافِلٍ عَمَّا تَعْمَلُونَ. In the Ayat of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَمَا اللَّهُ بِغَافِلٍ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is not heedless عَمَّا تَعْمَلُونَ, of your actions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows all of your actions, what you're doing. فَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ اللَّهَ غَافِلًا عَمَّا يَعْمَلُ الظَّالِمُونَ. Never think in any way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's ever heedless of the actions of the oppressors. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He knows all of our actions. He knows everything that we are doing. So what does this particular statement mean, أَذْكُرْكُمْ? That I will also remember you. And there's a very famous hadith. There's an authentic hadith, a very famous hadith in which it's a hadith Qudsi. Hadith Qudsi are those ahadith where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam a particular message and allowed Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to convey that message in his own words. That is the major difference between Hadith Qudsi and the Ayat of the Quran. The Ayat of the Quran were revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he was told to convey them exactly as they were revealed to him. He was not given any option whatsoever to add or subtract anything from that wahi, from that revelation. وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ عَلَّمَهُ شَدِيدُ الْقُوَىٰ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah An-Najm that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he is not bringing this message from his side or from his own desires. He's not making up this message. He's not adding anything from his own side. In huwa illa wahyun yuha, this is definitely a revelation that has been revealed to him. Allamahu shadidul quwa, he has been taught by a being that is very powerful in its strength. Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam. So when it comes to wahi of the Quran, when it comes to the Quran itself, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was not given any option to convey it from his side or add or subtract anything from his side. It was revealed to him exactly as he has conveyed it to the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, and as it comes to us today, it is exactly like that. When it comes to the Hadith Qudsi, the Hadith Qudsi are those that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would give Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam a particular message. He has conveyed a message that there's a particular situation in this particular way. Now that you are given this message, convey it in your own words. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was given the option to convey that message in his own words. Those are called the Hadith Qudsi, those ahadith that are from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And you'll find in the beginning of these ahadith, you'll find the statement, قَالَ اللَّهُ تَبَارَكَ وَتَعَالَى. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that, قَالَ اللَّهُ تَبَارَكَ وَتَعَالَى, that Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala said. So there is a famous hadith in which, Hadith Qudsi, that Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, He has said, أَنَا عِنْدَ ظَنِّ عَبْدِي بِي. وَأَنَا مَعَهُ إِذَا ذَكَرَنِي. I am as my servant thinks of me, which means in English, when you translate the statement, it means that I am, or I live up to the expectations of my servants. It's a very, very powerful statement. We should have very high hopes and great expectations from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should not be pessimistic and always thinking negative or have very low hopes. It's amazing how in this world, those who are always pessimistic and are always thinking that na'udhu billah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always put something difficult in their destiny. You will always find those people with terrible luck, very bad luck. They will always be going through difficulties. But I've also found, and you will also find, that those who are optimistic, that even in the most difficult of situations, you'll find that optimism. You'll always find them to reach great heights. Our shuyukh and our ulama, they've always instructed us. They say that keep your himmat very high, keep your courage very, very high. They say as much courage and hope and what you expect from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how high that is, so that is where you will be able to go. That is where you will reach. But if you keep your courage very low, you keep your expectations very limited, even if you get it, it's not much. So when you have expectations from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then expect the best. A very, very great expectation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have the statement in English, shoot for the stars. So when you have hope, when you put your hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then make that what you're hoping for, hope for the best. Don't settle for anything else. Don't settle for anything less than the best in your hopes. And you will see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring the conditions to you. But this is a condition, again, it's a condition of the heart. There's many people who talk about how much they have great hopes and they dream, they're daydreamers. And there is a world of difference between a daydreamer and someone who has high hopes and expectations. A daydreamer can get lost in his daydream so much that they lose sight of reality. Now they're in dreamland. But someone who has high expectations and great hopes, so they realize the reality and taking the reality into consideration, they're hoping for the best. And they're working and making effort towards that. They don't just settle in their dreams, but they make proper preparations and they work hard and they really have that hope and that goal in front of them. This is even what our mashayikh and our elders and our ulama always tell us. Keep your courage and your hope very, very high. A Muslim is not allowed to become to lose courage. A Muslim is not allowed to become hopeless. وَلَا تَيْأَسُوا مِنْ رَوْحِ اللَّهِ. Never become hopeless of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لَا تَقْنَطُوا مِنْ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ. Never become hopeless of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you were to really recognize how merciful and kind and compassionate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, and how powerful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, then your expectations will never ever be limited. So expect from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the best. Put all of your hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He will never let you down. Yes, there will be times where you will be tested. But don't make that test a means of you becoming hopeless. Rather, you should become more courageous. You should become more hopeful. You should become even more courageous and more firm. As this is the establishment of Iman. It takes time. This world is a world of steady growth. Don't expect things to happen overnight. So this is also the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Keep your expectations very high. Inshallah, we will continue regarding this hadith and also this statement of ayat number 152. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us understanding and give all of us the tawfiq to practice His deen. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ. نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. عن أبي الدرداء رضي الله عنه قال, Sayyidina Abu Darda رضي الله عنه, he narrates, إني سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول, I heard Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم saying, من سلك طريقا يطلب فيه علما, whosoever travels a path seeking knowledge, particularly the knowledge of deen, صدق الله به طريقا من طرق الجنة, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enable this person or will facilitate for this person a path from the many paths of paradise. وإن الملائكة, and even the angels, لتضع أجنحتها رضا لطالب العلم, they put down their wings, they even spread their wings in pleasure and happiness because of their happiness and their joy with the talib ilm, with the student of Quran and Sunnah, or the student of ilm and knowledge. فإن العالم, coming to the alim, to the scholar, لا يستغفر له من في السماوات والأرض, all of the creations within the heavens and the earth, they seek forgiveness for the alim, for the scholar of deen. والحيتان في جوف الماء, and even the fish in the depths of the oceans, they're also seeking forgiveness for the alim or the scholar. Sometimes you might think, why this statement of forgiveness? Why does the alim need to be forgiven? One unique element, and again, this is when you see the lives of the ulama and the scholars and the mashayikh, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them long lives so that we may benefit from their ilm. But one thing you will find a unique aspect about ilm and knowledge is that, particularly the ilm of deen, is that the more ilm you have, if you are genuine and sincere, it will develop taqwa and fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within you. And the nature of that taqwa is that a person is always afraid that maybe I have made a mistake. Just to give you an example, inside salah, just a regular salah, there are thousands of rules and regulations. That is actually an understatement. It's not hundreds, it's in the thousands of rules and regulations on how to pray, all of the details of the salah. Just the Allahu Akbar, saying Allahu Akbar, there are 3 or 5 different rules and regulations. And again, I'm not going to go into those details, but just to share with you, that there are so many rules and regulations, the masail, that are related to just salah. And for the scholar of Quran and Sunnah, and the scholar who has this ilm and this fiqh and this faham, this understanding, so even in their salah, they're always afraid that maybe I've missed something. So always in the back of their mind, they have this fear that maybe I've made a mistake. Maybe my salah was not accepted because I missed this and I missed that and I missed. It's always in the back of the mind. It's like the example of a student who wants top marks. And they're really working for those top marks. And even they go to the exam hall. And even they're 100% certain that they answered the questions. But that in the back of their mind is always lingering that maybe I made the mistake on that question. I made a mistake on that question. Same as the case of the ulama and the scholars. They're always in the back of the mind. They're always worried because this world is the test. The results will come in the hereafter. So the ulama, they're always living their life with this idea that maybe this is not accepted or maybe that is not accepted. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, just to give comfort and solace to this psychological effect upon the ulama, this great burden, and this heavy burden on the shoulders of the ulama and the scholars. They're told that don't worry, you make your effort. Yes, you may find that you have made mistakes, but have this comfort that the whole of creation is asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you. Is doing istighfar on your behalf. So don't get into this mindset of, okay, I missed this and I missed that. Let me repeat my good deed. It happens sometimes where a person gets into this level of paranoia and they start to repeat their good deeds. They'll repeat their wudu, or they'll repeat their salah, or they'll repeat other good deeds. So this hadith and the wordings of this hadith is just solace, giving solace to the ulama and the scholars that yes, the nature of this ilm is that it will always make you worried. But you should have the hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also take this bashara and this glad tidings that the whole of creation, because of the special status and the special ilm that you have, the whole of the creation loves you, and because of their love for you, they're making dua for you, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you. So even if you realize you may have made some minor mistakes or missed certain things, don't fall into this trap where you start to repeat the good deeds so much. It happens with some. So this statement is actually going to the ulama and those great scholars who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed them with the ilm of Quran and Sunnah and has also given them this gift of taqwa. This is who that statement is for. Otherwise, for us common students of Quran and Sunnah, we may be thinking, sometimes we think, like, what is this? Has the scholars made some mistakes, or are they sinful or something? No. It's not because they're sinful. It's because of this level of burden that they have on their shoulders. This is what this statement means, that even the fish in the oceans are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive them. I just wanted to clarify that point from this hadith. Inshallah, we will stop here. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us understanding and give all of us the tawfiq to practice His deen. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ.